All right, that sounds good. Let me show you one last thing with this loop. So inside this loop, I've created this variable I, which I set to a number, and I just say add 1 each time. I can use that inside my loop anywhere I want. So if I want to say, I'm going to add on the number, so I'm going to say echo or print my variable I just before my greeting in place. Save that. Refresh it. And there you see that I've got my numbers just prepended on before everything. So you see that it doesn't start at 1, it starts at 0 and then starts counting 1, 2, 3, 4. And since it says it gets to 5 and it meets the condition of not being less than 5, it stops. So if I wanted to add a space, I could just add a space here, just an empty string. Go back and replace it, and boom. So that, in a nutshell, is kind of how you look at PHP. You'll see these PHP tags here. I could add more. I'm sorry? If you want to start at 1, instead of putting the I at 0, you set it to 1 at the very beginning. But note that you'll only get 4 results.
So what are the periods mean?
These periods?
The ones in the
This one?
Yeah.
Oh, this is just it's a joiner, like a concatenator. So it just says that take this and join it to this. And then this one says take this and join it to this. Does that make sense? So it's kind of like in math, it would be a plus sign. Also in other languages like JavaScript or just about any other language, this would also be this equivalent. PHP is kind of weird like that. It took me a really long time to figure that one out, actually. Yeah. Okay. So does anyone have any quick questions about PHP before we go into how it fits into WordPress? All right. So let's go back to Is this too small for people to see? Okay. So if we go back to our index.php inside of our ultra lightweight folder, our template that I've given you guys, let's look at it again, and you'll probably have new eyes, and you can see that you identify a chunk of PHP, another chunk of PHP. You have this PHP thing here. You have another one stuck inside of this, between this A tag. You probably have a 10 or so little chunks of PHP. Now, the nice thing that WordPress does is that it doesn't make you write the code that says, okay, I'm looking for page X, Y, or Z. Now give me the chunk of text that's associated with the header field. They make it really easy, and they just say, okay, they give this to you for free. They just say, oh, if you want to get the content of the page, which is, actually, I'll go into that. If you want to get the content, just write this little chunk of code, and it returns all the text associated with it. Let me explain where these come from. Go back to Firefox, localhost. So I'm leaving my PHP alone. My WordPress install. So I'm in my dashboard. I'm going to go into my existing posts. So I have 2 posts that I already have. And the dashboard is something you should play with on your own. It's fairly straightforward, but if you have any more specific questions, you can always ask me. I'm going to go into this one titled Sulk. So there's a lot of different things that I can do here. I can add a title, which I've called Sulk. I can upload an image. What is this? Video, music. I can edit it. So this window is much like any sort of Word, or like it's like Word because you can just drop in images that you've uploaded and it will show up, and if you want to add something or if you want to change it, you can just click on it and you can say, okay, I want it to be so big. You can have it centered. You can change the size by scaling it, and then you can go in afterwards and type in captions or the body of your post. You can add categories, you can add excerpts, trackbacks, whatever, and then when you hit update, what it's doing is it takes all those changes, it takes all the text that I added, the images, the details about how big I made the image, and it saves that to a database, which would be useless if we didn't know how to access that database. So just know the main things that you'll need to remember are, that it has a title, and you probably want to have a title associated with your posts. It has content, which is here. And then you can view it as this visual editor, or you can change it to HTML, so you can have more control over it. So you can see the HTML that's generated by this image, which has the information about the image and the size. And then you see the caption text, all the categories that are associated with it, etc. So let's start making a couple changes here. Now I haven't done this, but let's say I'm going to go here. I'm going to go to my website. I'm going to click on Sulk. So this is what I have. I updated it so it automatically shows me this caption text. Now let's say that it's really important to me that people know how I categorize these things. There's this little category thing, and I have a category of California in there, but it's not showing. So what I'm going to do is go to TextMate. I'm still in index right now, and I'm going to say after the content, I want you to show me the categories. So I'm going to add a PHP tag, and I'm going to add in this, and I'm just kind of guessing at this right now, actually, because a lot of these things are the underscore followed by what you want. So I really don't know if this is going to work. It might not. So when I go back to my JTerm, my base folder, I reload it, and there it is. So I see that my Sulk now has a little category link it says California. And under Exeter, I have a little link for the category that I had assigned to it, which is library.
Another question. When I
Yeah.
open that index file, there's like spaces everywhere. And if I try to put these weird spaces in, what is that?
What, are they actually spaces, or is it just?
No, it's just like a weird.
That must be something with the settings. I'm not sure. Okay, so is that working for people? Is yours?
It just the category doesn't jump out. It just stays the same.
It stays the same. Go back to.
Oh, actually, no, it does.
Okay.
On the actual site.
Yeah. So here's something to see. This is a good point and something you'll need to understand. So we made the change in index.php. So we added the category to index.php. So when we go to the home page, it's just JTerm, nothing else. I see the category. Now when I click on the link to see the individual post by itself, I click on it and the category is gone. It's no longer showing. Where did it go? Well, let's look. So this is the index file, the index.php, and like I said yesterday, this is the file that the server will look for first when you just go to the main URL, which is in this case JTerm. When you click on a post, WordPress then says, okay, we're no longer on the index page. Let's look for a PHP file called post, or single, sorry. It'll be called single because it's just a single post. So if we open up single.php, it looks kind of similar. It still says get header. It still says sidebar, footer down here. It has all this HTML that's the same. But down here, I have the title and I have the content, but my categories are gone. So I'm just going to add that in real quick. The category, I'm going to save that. Go back to Firefox, hit refresh, and now I'm in JTerm/Salk, or whatever blog post you have, and there we go. I see my category there, so it pops up. Now let me add another one. I'm going to add a new category of awesome. Select it, update it, refresh, boom, California awesome. So you can see it's, I'm making this web page and I'm making the changes on them without actually having to go in and change the HTML and code in category California or category awesome. Does it all for me. Any questions right now? All right. So let's do this. So you're going to run into a lot of these little snippets of code that WordPress gives to you, and you might not know what they mean, or might not know what they give you. Might not give you exactly what you want, and you want to be able to change it or have it give you different information. This is how you find out what it does and how to do that. So I'm just going to copy the category. I guess you don't have to if you want to type it, but I'm just going to go to Google, or I'm going to go to WordPress.org, which is where you download your copy of WordPress. And I'm just going to go to this little box, this search box up here, and I'm just going to paste that in, the category. And search. First hit I get is this function reference, which is exactly what we want. The category is a function that WordPress provides to you. And it tells us, okay, what does it do? It displays a link to the category or categories the post belongs to, and it says it must be used within the loop. Now we'll go into the loop in a minute because it's extremely important in WordPress. But it then goes on to say, okay, how do you use it? It says, this is the little sample piece of code, and it says the category, and these are the attributes that it can take. You can put in a separator, parents, post ID, but we don't necessarily know what those mean just from that. So it actually gives you a little handy little guide to how to pass parameters or what that is. But it tells you, what does a separator mean? What does this mean here? It's a string, which is just like the hello world that we had, which you'll display between category links, parents. Most of these things you don't even really need to know, but if you do, they're all here. And most functions will give you an example that you can just copy and paste. So I'm going to say I don't know anything about this this separator. So I'm really interested in just putting a comma between them. So I'm going to just copy this whole piece of this little line of text, which includes the p tag, this little text, this is all HTML, and then this little PHP chunk with the closed p tag. To go back into TextMate, I'm going to replace the thing that I wrote, paste it in there. So this is exactly just what I got off the website. I'm going to save it. Back to Firefox. Refresh, and this is what happens. So that little chunk of text just goes in, and it just starts chugging along. You can see that that text that it put in is there. I have my categories, and they're separated by a comma, which is exactly what it said it would do. So when you come across something, say you don't know how to do it, you do something or you don't know how to work the code, you can just go to one of these function references and just start copying and pasting and just seeing how it works, and then going back and saying, okay, I don't really want this comma to be here. I want them to be separated by 2 vertical lines. When I go back to refresh, there it is. This is something I do all the time for 2 reasons. Number one is because if somebody else has written the code already, for me, there's not a super good reason that I should have to write it again. So if I can use someone else's code and it's on the documentation, I will. The other reason is that I don't have a photographic memory, or at least not for these types of things, and I can't remember what every function does and what every parameter every function takes. So I need to look up these things, and I'll just copy and paste. And usually there are some really good things just for you to look at. Another resource. So sometimes these references can be a little bit hard to understand, or the code may not be right for you. Another way to do it is just go to Google, and this is what I usually do a lot too. Is I type in WordPress and show category as list, or whatever you want. You can just do plain text, or just train of thought, and just see what comes up. And the first ones are going to be from WordPress, but then you'll probably get somebody's blog, and I guarantee you, if you've wondered how to do something in WordPress or PHP or any other programming language, if you've thought of maybe this would be handy, somebody else has already thought of that. They've done it, and one of those hundreds of people has put a blog post about it, usually with pretty decent code. So they'll give you a little background, and then they'll give you some code here. And I mean, I can just copy paste it and go to town. Oops. So I don't know if this is going to work. This is always kind of a gamble to see if the guy knows what he's doing. or if I've misread it and put it in the wrong place. It looks like it's not working. Oh, okay. So this is for somewhere else, but let me try putting this in the index. Just put it in a random place. You don't have to do this. Okay, no dice. I don't know what that stuff does. But that's good to know. It's just because one of my biggest resources is just Googling. You look for the answer, you do a little bit of reading, a little bit of research, and you can either take a big piece of code, you can take a little piece of code. It might just be explaining a small concept about one of these things that you need to know in order to use it properly. Okay. Let's take a look at a couple other pieces or files, and I think we have 15 minutes left, and I think this will be a good point to stop, and then you guys can start looking on your own tonight inside these files and start poking around and moving things. Yesterday I mentioned that there are 4 primary files that you'll need in the WordPress folder. There are more, but the minimum are index, which actually includes all the information that you need for every page. And then inside index you can see that it's calling header, which gives us the PHP, the head. So you can see that this head HTML tag that we had in here, that we wrote yesterday, is there too, but it's got a bunch of other junk in here like title, stuff, links to the style sheet, links to RSS feeds, etc. So all that's there. Here's the open body tag. It's not closed though, and we have an open wrapper tag. So at the bottom, the opposite side of the header is the footer, which we see in index is called at the bottom. We go to footer, and right here is the footer, and it's not very much here, not very much because it's just closing off the body tag. Well, it's closing off the wrapper tag, the body tag, and the HTML tag. And the other function that we have in here, and this one is actually optional, but is a good place to keep menus, is sidebar. So sidebar in the ultra lightweight is this. So it contains this link to the home page, it contains the links to the pages, and it has all these links, all the things that navigation elements that I need. In my other websites, this is the sidebar, so it's almost the same thing. In GrooveShot, instead of being on the left, it's on the right hand side and has pictures in it. So in sidebar, when we look in there, is a little bit complex. You can see that what I've done is I have these lists. So I have a list here. I have another list. This list containing pages, a list containing my blog posts, and I have my little, notice thing that you can put in there. You can change it around, please.
Just where these things go, like let's say if you want a horizontal sidebar, is that in this sidebar or in the index? Like where it physically goes?
So all this stuff could actually live. I could copy and paste all this code here and put it instead of that. I'm just gonna paste that in there. So your menu could live anywhere. Having it, the benefit of having it separated into those different places the sidebar into its own file is that it's easy. The sidebar is the same for all of these things. So if I want to change the order of this, I just have to change it once and it propagates. Now, if you want to make a horizontal menu item, you can use the sidebar as a horizontal. You just have to format it using your CSS to be horizontal.
So then that format is in a style sheet and not, or
Yes. Let's go in. Let me undo this. Get my sidebar back. So if we look at my style sheet, the one that you looked at last night, the simplest version I had just had these 3 items, and it's this sidebar item, which has everything inside the sidebar is going to have these attributes. Now, if I wanted to make them horizontal, I have to actually play with the lists, and there's a good resource on WordPress. If you just type in WordPress horizontal menu, they create a pretty handy guide to creating horizontal menus, which is actually, it's a really good tutorial because it'll walk you through all the code from beginning to end, including the style sheet that you need. And this is what it comes out to, and it's really ugly, this pink and blue, but you can just easily change the styles that are associated with that, and it makes it horizontal. Okay, so I'm just about out of time. I'm gonna just give you a preview about something that we'll talk about tomorrow, which is called the loop, and I mentioned this before. So the loop, if we go to Finder, I can remember which one it is. I'm going to go to the default style, or the default theme for WordPress 2010. I'm going to go to this file called loop. Now the loop in WordPress is very similar to the loop that we did in PHP just moments ago, where we were iterating over Hola Mundo a certain number of times, except instead of just going and writing text over and over again, what this one does is it iterates over your posts. So in the case of my portfolio website, it's going through each portfolio entry, and it says for each one of these entries, write out this code. So each one of those will then have, the title printed, then the images displayed, and then the text underneath it. And then it says, okay, is there another entry? And if there is, then it does the same thing with the same format but different content over and over and over again until it reaches its limit. So the loop is something that's integral to WordPress. It's really what makes WordPress work so well, because it just is able to go through a bunch of different posts that dynamically, very quickly, and display them in a list. So traditionally, the loop is inside your index.php folder or file, but for the ultra lightweight, I've actually changed it. And I'll show you where it lives on the web page. So the loop, like I said, loops through your posts. But on here, my posts are actually listed first here. So I have Salk and Exeter Library, even though this doesn't really look like, this isn't all the posts, or all the content in the posts. It's actually looping through here. So I've moved it. I made a custom loop. And my main one lives in the sidebar, right here. So everything inside this PHP tag where it says while and before end while is in the loop. So it does everything the same. So it says make a list item, make it a link it to that link it to the post, then print out the title, close the link, close the list item, and then do that as many times as you can, as long as it has posts. In this case, I said do it up into 10 pages or 10 posts per page. So this is all pretty confusing right now, I'm sure. But we'll go into the loop a lot more tomorrow because that's going to be really important for us. I think that's enough for now, and I think for tonight, what I'd like you to do is to add, even if it just has a little bit of text or minimal amount of text, just add in 10 test blog posts into your WordPress install. Upload a few photos into different posts. Some posts maybe have 2 or 3 photos. Just figure out how to put them into the editor and display them. And some of that information is in the second screencast on YouTube. And so get at least, I would say, at least 5 different posts, and then start poking around in your ultra lightweight folder and start adding, you can just, even as simple as, I don't know where this is. Say I just walk into this file, I don't know where this is. I'm going to add in a little just piece of text that says animal and say, okay, where does that pop up in my website? Or I say, oh, there it is. So I know that that is going to be there, so I know I can orient myself that way. So that's a good way to kind of figure out where you are in your files. Move things around, experiment with making things horizontal, keep testing out your style sheets, and always remember that if you break something, if it just stops working, or if something's just super wonky, you can always just reload the original ultra lightweight theme, and you might have to activate it again, but reload it, and you should have all your content back to square one with the style sheet, but everything's still there. Any questions, concerns?
So we're modifying like a different copy of ultra lightweight before saving it as?
No, so you're going to want, actually, in order to see the changes, you're going to have to save or start editing the copy that is in your localhost folder, whatever that's called, and then the one that's actually inside your WordPress install in WP Content, Themes, and then ultra lightweight. You actually want to be editing and saving these files now.
But you can reload it from the stuff you gave us initially.
Correct, yeah.
Okay.
And if you want, you can just, if you know that you just screwed up one of these documents, one of these PHP documents, you can just overwrite that one with the original one and preserve all the other changes that you've made. Things like style or whatever.
Is there a way to edit in Firebug?
Um,
Because you can see, that makes it easier to like see where you are on the screen. You document.
I have never used it to edit. I don't think Firebug will allow you to edit the actual source. Web Developer might, but I don't think so. The only way that I know how, and the only way I've done it, is to actually go through the text editor and then save and refresh. Of course, CSS is different, like I showed you yesterday. Okay. Tomorrow, it would be great if everyone could just email a few people have like one portfolio website that they've come across that they like even just a part of, and we'll take a quick look at those tomorrow, and you can tell us what you liked about it, and I'll kind of give a quick idea of how that web page works, so you can get so you can understand what's available to you and what kind of tools you have based on what you like. All right? Yeah. Let me turn this off real quick.